Yo, cool, man. Yo, so welcome to Red River Podcast.
Thanks, man.
Jeremy Morehead. So Jeremy is from Epic Films, guys. Brain Stew. So explain exactly what that is, because there's like a channel, but then you have your own podcast.
Sure. So, Epic Film Guys, my buddy Justin started the podcast maybe like 6, 7 years ago. We met at a screening for A Nightmare on Elm Street and became just fast friends. And I mean, he's been growing his fan base for Epic Film Guys for years, and I was a fan of his podcast. We're buddies. We discuss film and stuff all the time. And for years, he said, "Man, we should do a horror movie one." And I'm like, "All right, man. Well, the moment you bring it up to me sober, like I know that you're serious, and we'll talk about it." And several months ago, he was like, "Dude, I'm serious. Like I'd really like to do an Epic Film Guys spinoff, a horror podcast." So, my life is horror. So, I live it, I breathe it. Of course, I want to talk about it. So we started throwing some ideas against the wall, and we came up with Brain Stew, and we've been rolling full steam ahead ever since, man. It's been really, really fun. And it's the first podcast thing that I've done for years. People ask me, like, "Hey, you should, you're so into this stuff. You go to all these different events, you're an autograph collector, memorabilia collector. A lot of people, you should do this." And I didn't want to jump into it, half cocked. I wanted to make sure it was the right thing. So it's fun to finally be doing it.
Yeah, man. It's interesting to see, because like for a minute now, since we opened up the Instagram for Red River Podcast, like Epic Film Guys has been following us, and I'm like, who the fuck is this? And I had no idea. And then once you started doing the podcast, because obviously we're friends on Facebook,
Yeah.
you posted about Brain Stew, and I was like, oh shit. And I made the connection. And then I see, like, you're right. He has a great fan base on Twitter, on everything, man. He's doing real well. And I listened to some of the episodes. You guys did some Halloween stuff, and it's fucking great. I love it. And it makes sense for a guy like you, just like us. Like we all, and we all kind of came together through Horror Nerds.
For sure.
Facebook Horror Nerds is like in the very beginning.
Yeah.
It was just, it's a complete cesspool now. So, but everything good comes to an end.
Yeah.
And
yeah. Are you still in that? Are you still in that group?
I have to be.
Yeah. Right on. Right on.
I just like every now and then, like I look over and I'm just like, oh fuck these people.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we talked about it a while ago. It got, the internet is a rough place, and you kind of got to navigate and find the right groups for you. And certain groups can be fun in the beginning, and then it becomes you know how it is, man. People go fucking bananas over these things, and then it can be not fun when it's like everything that you're seeing pop up on your feed is just negative shit and people being assholes to each other.
Yeah, what it is. It's like when it grows to like in the very beginning, I'm thinking like, oh, numbers. Yeah, approve. And then the bigger it got, like the angrier people, like you can't even like have a different opinion. I'm thinking like weird. I'm like, okay, like who
it's
gives
hard
a
to
shit?
keep it manageable when it gets to that kind of a size,
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Are you, is that your group? Are you the moderator of that group?
Yeah, I started the group. Yeah.
I had no idea that you were the one that started it, dude. Like I'll jump back over into it now that I know that you're the guy that's leading that ship. I know you. I know you're like, yeah, it doesn't matter. But no, that's cool. I didn't know, but no, that's cool that it's grown so big. But yeah, I had no idea that was your thing.
It's one of those things that just like I once we started the podcast, I'm like, I'm just going to stay in this group. I'm going to stay in the Red River Podcast group because it's a lot easier to talk nonsense here. It's just like, you're not like, you're not like defend, like if someone doesn't like something you don't like, it's some dude, like, I don't know. It's like, why do I need to like go on there? Like, I'll be like, oh yeah, you know what? I feel differently about The Witch. I thought it was terrible, but I'm not going to sit there and give 100 rebuttals as to like why I think you should think it's terrible. It's like,
it's like you're wrong. This movie is terrible.
Yeah. It's like at the end of the day, A24 makes movies that are so weird that I'm glad they exist. I'm glad they exist. They're getting these like, releases. And it's like, I think some of their movies are terrible, but I thought, Green Room's great. Midsommar was great. So
dude, I love Green Room. Dude, Lamb coming out. That looks like the strangest fucking thing ever.
So the thing with Lamb, once I saw the trailer to Lamb, I felt like it was like a fake trailer. Like I'm watching this and I'm just like, you know what? I'm like, you do you, A24. Every now and then I'll check it out, but that shit looks like I just know that if I went to the theaters to see that, I'd probably walk out very angry.
Even if you're gonna love it or hate it, though, they're always trying something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're out there.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, my biggest takeaway from that trailer is like, dude, did somebody fuck that lamb? Because I'm not trying to watch a movie where people are like fucking lambs. It's like, well, here's a human lamb baby. I'm like, I don't know, man. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, you know what? Anything's mesmerizing once you throw the Beach Boys, God only knows, in the as a song. So, but before we really get into it, I really want to talk to you about. So you made your first movie Easter Sunday, and you got to work with Robert Z'Dar. What the fuck was that like?
It was amazing, man. He was so cool. You know, I'm a massive Maniac Cop fan.
I mean, come on, of course.
I love it, dude. Part 2 is like
the best.
Is the best. Like
the best sequels ever.
Ever. And when anytime this stuff comes up, I'm like, dude, it's the greatest action horror film ever fucking made. Ever.
You're not wrong. Like, I went to Nighthawk Cinema, which is out in Brooklyn, and they do like screenings, and Bill Lustig was there. It might have been for Maniac Cop 1, and he was doing a Q&A, and I asked him, I was like, yo, I'm like, what's your favorite movie you ever did? And he said Maniac Cop 2, and I'm thinking like, yeah, like it's like you said, it's just this action horror movie, and as ridiculous as it is, it really fucking worked. I like 1. 3 is ridiculous. 2 is legit a really good movie.
It's incredible. So I've always been a fan of Robert Z'Dar's. So when I was writing the script, I was like, you know, thinking of him in my head as I was writing his character Arkin. And so when it came time to casting, I'm like, all right, well, we got a little bit of money. You know, we went the crowdfunding route, which is, you know, that's an experience. But we went the crowdfunding route a little bit, and then we all kind of threw down a little bit of cash, and we were like, all right, well, we got a little bit. And when I say a little bit, I mean like literally just a little bit. And so I was like, man, you know, I ended up getting his cell phone number through like an agent of his. And dude, we cold called him, and this is no bullshit. The first time I cold called him, he fucking hung up on me.
How far did you get the first time?
I was like, hey man, my name is Jeremy Morehead. I'm making a film. You know, actually, I got a little bit further. I was like, you know, I'm making a film called Easter Sunday. Like, I wrote a role specifically for you. And, dude, it sounded like he had just woken up from a nap. He was like, oh, who is this? And I was like, oh, no. Like, the moment you have to repeat yourself, like, after you get done with the whole thing, it's like, well, this isn't going well already.
No, yeah.
So he literally, as I was repeating myself the second time, he decided he was over, and he fucking hung up. And I was like, all right, well, there goes that. So I let it breathe for a week or so. And then, you know, we contacted him again, and it seemed like he was more awake and ready to have a conversation the next time. And I just told him what the movie was about, and he was into it. He was like, all right, you know, we worked out all the business dealings, and, you know, he flew in and he worked with us for a little while. And I mean, dude, he was such a good guy. You know, making an independent film, you know, obviously you lean on a lot of your buddies and your friends for some of the casting choices and things.
I saw, like a lot of people. I know Jason Delgado definitely up in there.
Yeah. So Z'Dar was great because he, you know, he knew it was a lot of first time actors. So he was so great on set. He was like, oh, maybe try it this way or do it this way. Like, he was literally giving acting pointers to people on set, which was really cool. Like, people were like, okay, you know, like they took his advice and they ran with it. And he was great, man. I have a lot of funny stories with him. He really wanted Wendy's after we got done filming one day. So we're like, all right. So I think he ordered like extra mayonnaise on his hamburger. So I'm like, okay. So as he's eating this hamburger in my living room, right? Like, mayonnaise is dripping off his burger onto the French fries. And I was like, yo, that looks disgusting. Like, it looks so gross. And my buddy, John, who's in the movie, John McCoy, he was sitting next to him, and Z'Dar looked at him and goes, hey, you want some of these French fries that like mayonnaise from the burger dripped on? And he was like, oh, okay. So like he starts eating these French fries, and I was just like, dude, that is the grossest fucking thing I've ever seen. So I'm like, dude, you ate mayonnaise drenched French fries from Robert Zadar's hamburger, and that was the grossest thing ever. So we still joke about it to this day.
It's just funny, like it's like a random thing. Like, do you want some? Like, no one ever, like, I don't care. Like, my best friend could be sitting next to me. I'm not gonna ask him if he wants my fucking fries.
Never.
No, and certainly looking at those French fries, I would have been like, oh no, thanks, man. But my buddy John was like, oh, okay, but it was wild, man. And he pulled some pranks on us on set. We there was a scene where he was supposed to get knocked down, and so we had like this whole mattress set up out of the frame and like all these paddings and things to where he'd be able to fall safely. And we'd asked him because he was not a a spring chicken at that point. So he said, are you okay with doing this? Like, if you want to scrap this, like we can do that. He was like, oh, I think I've got one fall in me. So we were like, all right. So when it came time for him to do the fall, he went down, and it was great because it took place in a restaurant. And when he fell, like he was gonna knock over a bunch of shit that was on the table, next to the mark. And so when he fell, he hit the fucking mattress and he didn't breathe. He just went, oh, and then he laid there, dude. I swear to God, everybody, I put my hands over my mouth because I was like, that's it. We fucking killed him. We killed Robert Zadar. We killed him. And he, like, I'm not joking, man. It was like 20 seconds where he just laid there. Nobody said a fucking thing. And finally he went, I gotcha. And I was like, oh my God, it felt like a minute that I didn't breathe.
Yeah. That would have been
yeah,
great.
he was
great,
man. Yeah, he was really great. It was really sad when he passed.
Yeah.
He never even got to see the finished film. He passed before it was done.
Yeah, it's yeah, it's super sad for sure. He's been in some really interesting movies too. I think Samurai Cop, but I know you're a big Stallone guy. Did you punish him about Tango and Cash? Any questions?
I didn't, man. When I met, oh, you mean for Zadar?
Yeah.
No, he looked back on it fondly though. He talked about loving being on the set of that and hanging out with those guys. Yeah.
Very cool. Okay, cool. So also before we do our Halloween rankings,
Sure.
I really wanted to ask you about the Nightmare on Elm Street documentary. So this is the second thing that you worked on. Tell me about that, man, because it's interesting because I know your favorite horror franchise is Halloween, just like mine.
Absolutely.
So how did we end up at Nightmare on Elm Street?
So that was pretty much my introduction into horror. Was A Nightmare on Elm Street. I remember being super young, like elementary school, like early elementary school, and watching the tail end of the original on like USA Up All Night, and it's scaring the absolute shit out of me. I went to school the next day and was telling all the kids about Fred Krueger, and it got so bad that literally the teacher called my parents. My parents are in the documentary, and like they tell this story, so hopefully I'm not spoiling too much, but my teacher called my parents and was like, hey, Jeremy apparently watched this horror film and he keeps coming to school talking about this guy, Fred Krueger. And it's scaring the other kids so much that they're having nightmares and their parents are calling and complaining about him because he keeps talking about this guy that's going to fucking kill them in their sleep. So that was kind of my introduction into horror in a roundabout way. And I just loved A Nightmare on Elm Street so much, and it was just always kind of a safety blanket for me growing up, going to the video store. My dad would take me to the video store every weekend, and I'd get to pick out movies, and it was constantly Elm Street movies. He was like, man, aren't you tired of these movies? And I was like, no, they're the greatest. I would just watch them over and over again. And so finally in like 2004, I didn't know, like I knew that horror conventions existed because I read Fango and shit like that, but it always just seemed like so unattainable for me because I had never been to an event like that. And even though I live in Virginia, New York seemed so far away when I was 17, 18 years old. I was like, I don't know, man, for some of those Fango cons. And in 2004, I remember I was watching one of the Elm Street films, and I literally I went on the interwebs and I Googled meet Robert Englund because I was like, I'd like to meet Freddy Krueger. And so it popped up, Cherry Hill, Monster Mania, New Jersey.
Yeah.
Like, okay, yeah, cool. Like let me go on MapQuest because we didn't have the smartphones yet with the the GPS. I was like, let me go on MapQuest.
It's like 10 pages.
Yeah. It's like, turn here. Yeah. So I was like, oh shit, it's only like 3.5 hours away from me. Like, okay, like I'm going to meet fucking Freddy Krueger. And that film changed, and that franchise changed my life because it kind of altered the direction that I went in my life. I wouldn't be making, some films or, having podcasts or even have the majority of the friends that I have if it wasn't for that film and for that moment. So, I went to Cherry Hill. I met Robert Englund, and I thought it was going to be like a one-off thing. Like, oh yeah, like you're the one famous person I'll meet and like, I'll get your autograph. And then I just move on with my life and continue loving this thing that I love. And it just bloomed, man. Having always loved horror films, it just was eye-opening going to these events and being able to meet your heroes and, making lifelong friends. So that's what the documentary is about. The documentary is about how that film changed people's lives.
And it's called Fredheads, right?
Fredheads The Documentary. Yep.
I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's, people that, a lot of people, it's kind of a common theme is people, were bullied as kids, and they turned to the Elm Street films because it was about empowerment, about overcoming, this horrible entity and, kids teaming up together and things like that. And that's kind of a common theme is people that had a lot of crazy upbringings and stuff that they turned to this violent horror franchise for comfort, and it made them feel better. And it's just about the connections that I wouldn't have met any of the people involved in that documentary if it wasn't for that film.
You could argue with me and say the first 5 films are great.
Absolutely.
I don't know, out of the big 4 franchises, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Friday, Halloween, Nightmare, I don't know if the other ones could say that, but like I think Nightmare has a solid 5. 6 is pretty hard to watch. Shout out to Lisa Zane.
It's unwatchable, man. Unwatchable.
Okay.
I'm actually in the middle of rewatching them all in order.
Right. Are you really?
Yeah, because I told them that the creativity of the kills, and just like when you go into a dream world, like you could do anything, So that's why I like, he said he those are the ones that you watch the least, right? So I'm like, you got to watch them again.
Yeah,
I hadn't rewatched them in a long time, I gotta say. Halloween I seem to dig out like every year and stuff, and but I just, for whatever reason, not because I didn't like them, because I grew up on that. Dream Warriors, one of my favorite horror movies of all time. But but yeah, I totally fell in love with it again.
That's awesome. Yeah, part 6, man. Like, here's Rachel Talalay that's worked on every Nightmare on Elm Street film to that point, and they were like, "Look, this is your chance. Like, you've climbed the ranks during these films to the point where now we're gonna let you like direct your own." And it's just surprising, man. It's kind of like when The Last Jedi happened. There's a clip of Mark Hamill looking to Rian Johnson going, "I'm really surprised at how you see Luke and how you're writing Luke. That's very surprising to me." And that's kind of how I feel about Freddy's Dead. It's like, I'm surprised at how you saw the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise and how you thought that was the best course to take, was telling that story. It's like Looney Tunes live action with Freddy as Bugs Bunny, dude. It's unwatchable.
Yeah, it's for sure. I mean, every now and then I try to watch it.
Yeah,
but,
same.
Like I said, you could argue. I'll even throw the Malign 2 in there, because I feel like 2 still had great practical effects.
It's got a lot of good stuff in it.
It's got great practical effects.
It's before Freddy really went like one-liners and stuff.
Exactly.
He still had that menace to him and stuff. I love that pool scene. It's
exactly.
It's got a campiness to it, that's undeniable, but it's kind of the charm of it too,
Yeah, oh, for sure. I love Freddy's red eyes in that movie, man, and the shots that he's got the red contacts and he looks menacing. Very, very scary version of the character for sure.
And the brain slice, or Jesse's friend, but like it comes out of his Freddy comes out of his stomach. It's so good. It's so
good.
I actually tried to get Jack Shoulder on the show, but he wasn't having it. So
he was not about it, huh?
He was not about it. He was like, "Who the fuck are you guys?"
Yeah.
But so listen, Halloween Kills just came out, so we never did a Halloween ranking, and I love Halloween. You love Halloween.
I love it.
So let's just go round robin, man. Let's just let's go 12-1, and we'll basically talk about our favorite Halloweens. So we'll go with you. We'll start with our guest. Give me your number 12, the one that's at the very bottom of the list.
I will be surprised if we all don't have the same number 12.
No.
Halloween Resurrection, man.
Brian?
It's close.
Oh,
not my lowest.
It's mine. It's mine, but go ahead.
It's my number 11, so it's right there.
Yeah, give us some thoughts about Resurrection.
Yeah. Man, I was in the theaters
Me
opening day, because Halloween H2O, and we'll get to the rankings, of course, is a film that I love. And it was my first introduction into a Michael Myers film on the big screen. I was in love with it. I was absolutely in love with Halloween H2O. So when we're getting a sequel to it, and I'm like, oh shit, and Jamie Lee's coming back for it, like, okay, cool. Like, I thought we definitively kind of told that story in the last one, but like, let's see how they do the workaround on this one, considering how H2O ended. And I just remember like my jaw dropping as I was watching it. What the fuck is happening? Like, what is happening? And Michael Myers is so interchangeable in this film. Like, you could have literally been like, no, this is Jason Voorhees and he's got a hockey mask and he's the one in this house. And it would have been the same movie. It was just such a cardboard film, man. There was nothing to it. It was just literally the board meeting must have been them at a table and been like, Michael Myers, he gets in the house with the TV show and then he kills the people. Like, that was the board meeting for that. So I walked out like, what a fucking weird piece of shit that movie was. And it's strange because obviously Rosenthal directed it. Rick Rosenthal directed it.
I mean,
he directed the second one.
Here's a guy who directed Halloween 1981 and Bad Boys, which is arguably one of my other favorite films. But 10, 20 years will do something to someone's vision, and it's definitely a victim of the age. The internet was just kind of popping off a little bit, so it seems super dated because the technology is just so bad. But like, yeah, I gotta say, like, I just recently rewatched it again, and it is unbelievably terrible. Like, the beginning is okay. I forgot how jarring the mask looks. The mask is like, it looks like Ronald McDonald. Like, it's just unfucking real. I saw it in a packed movie theater, like a sold out screening. We were waiting online. Like, that's how old. Like, when was the last time you waited online for a movie? Right? We were waiting online, and I just like to see. I mean, I love Buster Rhymes, but goddamn, like if it was
atrocious.
Just it, but he karate kicked him. Like it just. I can't say enough negative shit about this. This might be the worst horror sequel of all time.
It's certainly up there. And like, dude, Katie Sackhoff, that she's risen to a bunch of fame recently with The Mandalorian and things. Like, she's in this, and the way that she portrays her character in this movie, with her mannerisms, with her hyperness, with everything, is another nail in that coffin for me. Because I'm like, every time she's on screen and she's saying anything, it's so unrealistic that it's cringe. And this is just really bad, man. You're just driving that home, the fact that this is so bad.
You will have to do a lot to top this movie in the franchise. Like, I don't think Resurrection. I mean, according to Brian, I'm sure he's got give us your number 12. I know it's probably like what Rob Zombie.
Rob Zombie's Halloween too. It's completely. It's I mean, listen, Resurrection. I knew what my top three, like the second I wrote this down, and I knew what was at the bottom too. And it was either Resurrection or Rob Zombies too. So I rewatched everything and stuff, and I still can't get through the whole thing. It's just especially when I get to the scene where it's the older Michael, maskless, and the younger Michael, and Sherry Moon looking at the billboard. I had to stop it again. I've still yet to like be able to, and I'll watch anything all the way through. I can't get through it. And the White Horse, and it's atrocious.
Yeah.
I mean, beyond atrocious.
It's
devastating.
If this was horror nerds, I would tell you how wrong you are and how Resurrection is worse. But I'm gonna let it slide.
I really could interchange them. It's really, I do not like either of these films like a great deal. A great deal.
The strangest thing about Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, outside of the white fucking horse, is the kid that they recast as young Michael. His acting is so terrible. He's like, but I miss you, mommy. Like, it's like literally the way that he delivers his lines are so bad that it's like, okay, I get that this kid has longer blonde hair and you needed that for this film, but he looks nothing like Dave Farish.
Who you're having on the show, right?
Yeah, well, actually, I'm going to be on my buddy Kellen's podcast.
Okay, that's it.
Yeah, Kellen's Petty Talk Show. It's one of my good buddies, lives in LA, and he's friends with Dag. He's directed some music videos for Dag, so he's bringing Dag on his show and asked me to come on and just chat with him for a little bit. So that'll be interesting. But yeah, I mean, they might as well have just, because the reason I guess they didn't cast Dag in Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 was because he had gotten so much taller. It's like, dude, you should have just cast him and done some camera work to make him look shorter. I mean, this kid that you fucking cast, it's horrible.
They got Loomis. They got Loomis back.
He did it to like finance that Haunted World of Super El Bisto comic movie he was doing. I don't even know if he was like that into doing this movie. So it shows. It shows on screen.
I don't think so, but
it's a mess.
All right, give me your number 11, Jeremy.
Rob Zombie's Halloween 2.
Yeah. That's I got. Well, actually, I don't have it at 11, but you know.
I'm curious.
I don't hate this movie, even though it's number 11. That shows you how much I love the Halloween franchise. I don't hate Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. I like a good deal of it. I'm the kills are absolutely brutal. Like we get a terrifying Michael Myers where he's literally grunting, which we'd never seen him do before when he was stabbing people and killing people. I could have done without the mask, the hobo mask, where it's like literally hanging on by a thread. Absolutely could have done without it. But I feel like there are a lot of good things in this film, despite it not being a good film. You know, Brad Dourif is fucking incredible as Lee Brackett in this movie.
Always.
Danielle Harris, she did great. You know, Scout Taylor Compton, you know, she did great for what the script was for her. Again, with all of Rob Zombie's movies, the dialogue is always problematic because it's just not real world. It's not relatable. It's like, I want to have a conversation with Rob and be like, who do you know that talks like this? Like, is there people in your life that actually communicate like this?
No one in Connecticut.
Yeah, no shit. So yeah, number 11 is Rob Zombie's Halloween 2.
All right, cool. So Langan, what do you have at 11? You said Resurrection, right?
Resurrection.
And do you want to add anything to that?
What can be said?
Okay. My number 11 is actually Rob Zombie's Halloween 1.
Ooh.
I just, wow. And listen, once again, I'm not a Rob Zombie hater. Just like Eli Roth, I feel like these guys all have the potential to make something good. I love his first two movies. I think he has a really cool vision. He has a great eye. But I just, when it comes to touching this franchise, it's almost like you shouldn't even bother because it's so hard to do. Like, it's just such a thankless job. And maybe, you know, there's kids that are 15 years younger than we are that love this one for sure. But Halloween 1, I just I didn't like. I just don't want anything explained. I don't want anything explained. I don't want to know where this guy came from. The very beginning with you know, my boy. God, I don't remember his name now. Fucking American Me actor, William Forsythe.
Yeah.
And you know, and Sherry Moon Zombie or whatever the fuck her name is. Like, just that dialogue is in the very beginning. It's just like they're like. It's almost like a sitcom with like just shitty cursing. And I'm just what is going on here? I have no idea. I will give it one scene. So when young Michael puts on the old Michael mask, I thought that was pretty jarring and an interesting look. He had a couple of things happen in this first movie where I'm like, that was a cool idea, but it's just such a it's like it spent half the movie getting to a
it's
place.
like two films.
Yeah,
that, and nobody wants I mean, I have it up a little higher than you, but just jumping in, it's nobody wants any kind of human backstory towards this monster. Like, that's the whole appeal of the mask is emotionless, everything about it. So like, we don't want that, like, to tell that story that no one really wanted of what Michael Myers was like as a kid. Like,
as a kid, because he was, definitely very kind of soft.
Yeah.
So all right, that's my number 11. So let's do number 10, Jeremy.
Number 10 for me. I don't know where this one is going to rank for you guys, but Halloween Kills. Halloween Kills for me. It's funny because I've seen it twice now. I saw it.
Yeah, me too.
I saw it in theaters early, at a press screening, and I was shocked, man, because David Gordon Green, he didn't get everything right with Halloween 2018, but he was setting up kind of like a direct sequel to John Carpenter's Halloween, where he was, when Jamie Lee Curtis was out on press tours for this film, she was spinning it as, this is a film about trauma and how, generational trauma. She would say trauma. This is about trauma. I'm like, it's like
maybe
trauma.
It was about Lloyd Kaufman.
Yeah, dude. Every single time I'm like, why does nobody tell her how the fuck to say trauma? But anyway, so, she would say it's about generational trauma and how we as people deal with it. And, it was played pretty straight, and it was kind of, almost set up like real world, like this could happen, much like John Carpenter's original Halloween, without some things, of course, there's some tidbits that we'll get to when we get to that one. But I was so shocked and surprised when I watched this in theaters the first time at the decisions that the filmmaking team made with this one, because it was like they threw conventional storytelling out the window. Like, they tried to create a Halloween film with a little bit of gravitas with Halloween 2018. With this one, they were like, fuck it. Like, he escapes that fire and he just fucking kills people the entire runtime, and we'll just set it up for the third one. There was no real story in it. The dialogue was horrendously bad. One of my buddies, he got the script a year before this thing came out, and he was like, Jeremy, if this script is real, the dialogue is so unbelievably bad. And he sent it to me, and I didn't read it because I was like, dude, I don't want to spoil it.
Yep.
I want to go into it fresh, and I don't want to be thinking about the script when I watch it. And it was the real script.
It was a real script. Yeah.
The dialogue was so fucking bad. But there's always also, like, I watched it a second time, and I can enjoy a movie while understanding that it's a bad movie. In fact, I feel like so many of the movies that I love are bad movies that I just happen to love.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. I mean, that's why we're here on a podcast talking complete nonsense on a Wednesday, because that's what we do. That's how we grew up, So I got a lot of feelings on it too when it pops up on my list.
Yeah.
Langan, do you have where are we at? Was it 9 or 10? I don't even remember. 10.
I will have Rob Zombie's Halloween 1.
Okay.
I know we just talked about it, but same things I just said before about the unnecessary backstory. I give credit, but it was underused. They had some cameos in there, Clint Howard and Udo Kier. I wish they did a little something more with that, but like, he took a couple of chances like that. But and visually, he makes some great looking stuff. And Michael looked great. I give him credit for that too, and savage kills and stuff. But it's hollow. It's a hollow film. The dialogue's terrible, and everything we said before.
Yeah, it's funny because Rob Zombie, when they approached him, he was like, he wanted the entire movie to be about young Michael Myers, and he wanted it to be like a sanitarium story, and like it end where he breaks out of the sanitarium when he gets older.
That could be cool.
Yeah, and then the studio, of course, was like, no, we're gonna need you to go ahead and do because the remakes were huge at the time. Platinum Dunes was fucking cranking them things out.
They were, yeah, they were, and God, I mean, yeah, I didn't mind it, in comparison to Friday the 13th, which was I might have enjoyed more. But God, that Nightmare on Elm Street Platinum, like that was like the worst. I can't even. That might have been that's up there with Resurrection as like being like one of the worst things ever. But it's only because Robert Englund is so fucking good as Freddy. And we have that association that it's like, how do you even replace that? Like you could replace Michael because it's a guy with a fucking mask. You could replace Jason, Leatherface. All these guys don't they don't say shit. But Freddy is Robert Englund
personality. Yeah.
But it's Englund. Like if it ain't Englund, then it's like all right, then let it go.
I've said it for years, going to these conventions, there's so many people that are amazing cosplayers that they've studied Robert Englund's mannerisms, his voice, and one of our buddies, Bill, he's in the documentary. He is a Freddy cosplayer that Robert Englund was like, you're the official Freddy cosplayer. Like he has everything down just even the way that he moves his hand is spot on, perfect. The voice is perfect to where when we were doing an event for Fredheads, he was in full prosthetics and everything. He looked perfect. He looked like Robert Englund's Freddy, and people were coming up to us and they were going, is that Robert Englund? Is he fucking with people? Like people really believed it was him. So I've been saying it for years. Whenever they do get this next film off the ground,
get that guy,
get that fucking guy, get somebody that's their life. Don't go for a name. Don't go the Kevin Bacon route. Like that name's been thrown out a lot. Don't go Kevin Bacon. Don't try to get a name. Get somebody that is going to please fans. Obviously Robert Englund's not going to come back to do it. So hire somebody who has studied that Robert Englund school. That's my thoughts.
I mean, it worked for Journey.
Exactly.
So, all right. So my number 10 is Halloween 2, Rob Zombie. I gotta say, the very beginning of this movie, pretty decent. Like it had some like really good violence. Everything leading up to like obviously when she wakes up from the dream. I like the complete angle that I guess Loomis is kind of like a shitbag, and it's just all this like weird stuff. Like I enjoyed it more than the first Rob Zombie Halloween, but it was still a goddamn mess. That whole fucking ending too, like it's just I can't. Listen, the bottom three for sure. Like that's just it. Resurrection and Halloween, fucking Rob Zombie 1 and 2. Now we got those out of the way. We could talk about the real Halloween. So give me your number 9, Jeremy.
Number 9 for me is Halloween 5.
Yeah.
Me
too. Okay, yeah.
No shit.
Yeah.
That's funny, man.
Yep.
I mean, this movie they started filming less than a year.
Yep.
After Halloween 4 came out. And as they started filming this, they didn't even have a finished screenplay. They were still working on the script as they were filming it. And sometimes shit like that works, right? And I don't think this was that scenario.
No.
And my big question is, okay, like if you just wrapped a Halloween film less than a year ago and you're already making another one, what happened to the fucking mask from part 4?
Yeah.
Like what happened?
It got worse.
Why do we have this mullet guy mask that like the mask is like fucking, it hangs down so far too, and they don't tuck it into the coveralls in most of the shots? Like what happened? Like I don't know. I don't understand.
I don't even. Was it the worst mask? It might be. I'm not sure. No, right? I feel like I'm gonna go. Probably. I'll save my answer for that.
Yeah,
for the worst mask.
Same.
It's in the running show.
But yeah, I mean, Halloween 5. It's got a mute chick. It's got a mute chick that has like now like a psychokinesis like connection to Michael Myers, and it's got Donald Pleasance as Dr. Loomis. So, it's got that going for it. Anytime he's on screen as Loomis, I'm all about it. But it's definitely a weak entry in the franchise.
For sure. Langan, anything to add?
Michael cries in it. That's the one. That's one of the worst scenes in the franchise. It's, enough said.
Yeah.
Uncle.
And yeah, I already don't like it too when like a little kid is focused heavily, and it's just a thing I have in horror movies.
Me too.
I just don't want them in it. I don't want them in that world. So that had a strike against it right off the bat. But yeah, it's terrible. It's completely misguided. It's not a good film.
All right. So here's what I'm going to say. The stuttering kid, probably the most annoying kid that's probably ever been in a horror movie, next to the Babadook kid. And I love the Babadook.
I was about to fucking say that.
And I love Satan's Little Helper too. Shout out to that guy. Okay, the two fucking cops with the music. Yeah. You know what I never want in a Halloween movie? Humor. I don't want any fucking humor. I don't need the like. What is that noise that the cops like? The cop noise thing. It's like a zoom.
They're playing like slapstick music. Yo, it's insane. Like how could you even like make that decision to do that?
If anyone had any decency, they would have kicked that fucking director's camera right the fuck out of his hand and be like, nah, like this ain't like, you got to go. Like we're getting someone else. I don't know what's going on here. The fact that fucking Michael Myers is like floating in the water. I mean, gee, I don't even know what's going on. I mean, I could just keep going. But at the end of the day, in comparison to those last three, it still felt like a Halloween movie. The guy dressed in black, that was the beginning of his thing, right? And I think the director had no idea. He just threw him in there and was like, I guess whoever makes number 6 will figure this out, which is fucking amazing. I love that type of fucking like brutality. That's my number. That's my number 9. Funny that we all have it. So let's do number 8.
Cool. I've got Rob Zombie's Halloween, and the reason that it's not lower for me is that it is a polarizing film, much like Halloween Kills that just came out. People are still talking about Rob. I mean, dude, you run a horror group, people still talk about Rob Zombie's Halloween every fucking day. It's a fascinating movie because, pretty much they brought Rob in, and other than kind of mandating that he had to include that remake aspect in the second half of the film, they let him do whatever the fuck he wanted to do. There's a documentary. It's a 4-hour documentary that's on the DVD. I think it's 30 Days in Hell or some shit like that. Like I can't remember what the special feature was called, but it's literally 4 hours of the making of Rob Zombie's Halloween. And it's just so interesting to see how he directs his actors and what he does. There was a scene that got cut with Dee Wallace where she said, hey, would you be okay with me saying my line like this? And he looked at her and he goes, these are just words on paper. He said, I hired you because I trust you to perform in this film. He goes, you can get on camera and say whatever you want to say. That's why I brought you in. And I thought that was kind of fascinating that like, that's how he rolls. That's why I think he brings in those core people into all of his films because he trusts them and he wants those performances out of them. But it's such a strange movie because, you're given the keys to the kingdom, right? You can go make your movie, make this Halloween movie. And he chose to go the direction that he chose. And it's so weird, man. There are people that they live, they breathe, and they die Rob Zombie's Halloween. Like they love it.
Yeah, absolutely.
They say it's better than Carpenter's, some of these people. And I think it's fascinating. And the first time I watched it, I kind of had a similar reaction to Resurrection. I was like, dude, I don't know what the fuck I just watched, and I don't know how I feel about it. And then I went back and I rewatched it once it came out on video, and I didn't love it. I was like, I don't know. And then several years later, I was like, you know what? I'm going to watch this, free of John Carpenter's Halloween. I'm going to watch this as a slasher Rob Zombie film. And it is a great slasher film. It's just probably not a great Halloween film.
Yeah. That's basically it. So I remember when I watched it, when I went to the theaters to watch it, I thought to myself, I'm like, if this movie wasn't called Halloween, I think I would enjoy it. So for that reason, it's just a hard thing. It's like once you take that responsibility on and like, as a filmmaker, I mean, I'm sure if you were given those keys, you got to take it, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
For sure.
That's it. So what was it, number 8, Langan?
I'm sure I know I have this lower than you guys, but mine is H2O. For me, it's a little too slick, a little too glossy, the look of it. The kills aren't that good. I didn't like the LL character. I don't know. Like I said, I know you guys like it better than I do.
Yeah, I'll say I have it higher on my list, and I'm sure Jeremy does too.
Same,
so
yeah.
I'll talk about it when we get there.
Nice.
Yeah, but that's what I got.
Okay,
yeah.
Cool. So my number 8 is Halloween 3, Season of the Witch. As a kid, definitely the VHS era, old enough to remember to have rented this on VHS. I was very confused. I didn't understand. I don't know what the fuck happened. I'm like, wait, this makes no sense whatsoever. I hated it as a kid. I was like, fuck this movie. 1, 2, 4. That's me. As I got older, I watched it. Like we just talked about the Rob Zombie thing. Once you take it out of like that universe and it's a standalone movie, it's like, I love Halloween 3. Like, I get it now. It's just such a brutal movie. Like the very beginning, like when they kill the dude in the fucking hospital and they fucking like put their fingers in it, like it just like rip his nose out. Like the brutality, the face explosion with the laser, like I mean, a centipede shit coming out of people's heads. The fact that this guy's making masks to basically kill kids is such a sinister movie. And then the ending is, pretty good because nothing really gets resolved, So that's my number 8, Halloween 3.
Awesome.
So number 7, Jeremy.
Number 7 for me is Halloween 2018. I don't hate this movie. I'm just not. It's something that it's hard for me to get 100% behind because when it was announced that they were making Halloween 2018, everybody was like, okay, like no, because nobody knew they were like Blumhouse is making a Halloween film. It's like, okay, well, let's see how this plays out. And then all of a sudden it was like, hey, Jamie Lee Curtis is coming back. And fans were like, fuck yes. Then they were like, Nick Castle is coming back as Michael Myers. It's like, holy shit. Fuck yes. And then it was announced and they are retconning everything except for the first film. And it was like, wait, what? Like what? Like, so now they're not brother and sister. And the way that it was explained, it was, when you try to explain, well, they were brother and sister, and like that kind of made it less scary. And, Carpenter has admitted 1,000 times that he didn't know what to write about. And that, he did that Star Wars twist of like, oh, they're related. And he admits that he said he was drinking a lot while writing the script because he had no idea what to write. So when all of a sudden you retcon all these sequels that people love, it immediately alienates the fan base, at least a huge portion of the fan base. But I still gave it the old college try. I was like, all right, let's go into this. This is a direct sequel to Halloween 2018. To John Carpenter's Halloween. And I loved the beginning. I loved him back in Smith's Grove. I loved him being out in that yard. I loved the podcasters. I know a lot of people have an issue with the podcasters. I dug them. It felt very realistic. I loved it. I loved everything until it got to the point with Dr. Sartain where he's like, I want to bring them to see how they would interact with one another. And it's like, oh no, don't do this.
That's a good Sartain.
Thanks, man. But all of a sudden he's like, Michael, I'm bringing you to Lori. And then it's like, dude, what the fuck? Like, you don't need to do that. Like, there could have been there could have been better writing that could have incidentally put the two together, right? It didn't have to be like this fucking left field doctor like wants to, see Michael attack Lori. I don't know, man. It kind of fell apart for me there.
I have a lot to say, and it's very similar. So when it comes up on my list, like I'll probably repeat some of that.
So I'm like, all right, well, this became like really good and really spot on for if you are making a direct sequel to John Carpenter's Halloween. And now it became really silly. And the way that it ended, I was okay with it. So I was like, you know what? Like, I like this movie. I don't love it, but I like it. It's enjoyable. I watched it again recently, and I was like, before Halloween Kills came out, and I was like, yeah, I'm not part of the camp that fucking worships this movie like a lot of people are, but I like it well enough. But yeah, that's my number 7 is Halloween 2018. I wish I loved it more because it's got a lot of really great things in it. And Jamie Lee, I'll tell you right now that the first time that I watched it, the scene where she joins her family at the restaurant and she like chugs the glass of wine and then she starts talking about how she saw Michael and she starts breaking down and she starts crying. I'm going to tell you guys, I love Halloween so much. It is my favorite film of all time. When the way that she acted in that scene and portrayed, her emotions in that, dude, I'm telling you right now, I was at a screening of this film in LA right before it came out everywhere. And I fucking tears coming down my face because here's Laurie Strode, a character that I love from my favorite film ever. And she's an emotional wreck and she's having this emotional moment. And I felt it I actually ended up seeing Jamie Lee the day before their premiere in LA. And I told her, I was like, you were amazing in this film. Like the way that you portrayed the character 40 years later, it impacted me. Like I cried.
Was she
She
cool?
was like, dude, she was like, she stopped because she was signing autographs and she stopped and she said, thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
And like, it was cool, man. It was great. So, I mean, stuff like that, like, man, I love moments in this movie.
Yeah.
As a whole, I can't put it in my top 5.
Absolutely. Langan.
I'm an apologist for this film, just like you, Sam. Halloween 6. It gets a lot of flack, but I like Halloween 6, for what it is. It's a good film. I like the whole sanitarium scene. I have not seen have you guys seen I'm sure you have the producer's cut people talk about?
Yep.
How is that in comparison?
It's crazy, man.
It's crazy.
It's a weird fucking cut. Like some people will tell you, like, I prefer the director's cut. Not me, man. That's a weird fucking movie, and I can see why the studio was like, no, we're gonna do some other things instead.
He rapes Jamie.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Like the baby
this,
in the beginning is his kid.
I gotta see this again.
Langan heard that there was Michael rape, and he was like, "Okay, I'm gonna watch it."
That's it.
I'm intrigued. No, I've read the same thing. Some people prefer that version, and I'm like, I've never seen it. So, like I said, I figured you guys did. But Halloween 6, that's mine.
Cool. So my number 7 is Halloween Kills. Man, let's talk about this one. I was salivating at the mouth because it was a year late due to the pandemic. And I went to the theaters on Thursday, the Thursday before it got released on Friday. And I got to tell you right off the bat, I was just like, I don't know, this one's going to be good. We get to like the flashback. At first, I think they do like a CGI Loomis, and I'm just like, what is going on right now? Like, why is he yelling dumb shit? Turns out
did Michael kill again? Did he kill again?
I was just
I thought that was CGI, and I'll jump in because this is my number 6. It's my next one. But it's a dude they made up doing an impersonation. That's pretty good,
which made me respect it more for sure.
I thought that was an older footage, man.
I'm like, okay, cool, whatever. I didn't mind Anthony Michael Hall. I didn't mind him. He didn't really bother me, but like a lot of people, seem to like.
I get it.
Yeah, have a problem with him. I gotta say, I wish the survivors had more of a role through the whole movie. I wish there wasn't like 100 other people in the movie. I wish it was just about them, and they went from beginning to end instead of just like, hey, it's the nurse and she is dead in like 10 minutes, and then fucking Lindsay Wallace disappears. Like, what I mean? Like it just happened all so quick. And
it's got some problems for sure.
It's got some problems. The kills are great, and I read on Horror Nerds, and I agree with the opinion where it was like great slasher movie, terrible Halloween movie, and I was just like, you know what? I'll go with this. like it. It just didn't feel like a Halloween movie. I feel like there was no like anticipation. There was no lurking. It was just like, oh, here's Michael and he's just like ripping people apart. It was just kind of like, and then I hate the sound effects where it's like you take a mic and throw it in a box and shake it.
Yeah.
Just like, what the fuck is going on? I will say,
the score was great too.
But I feel like I feel like it's underused. I feel like it's very underused. I didn't really feel the score through the whole movie. There were some really cool scenes. I like the ending. I did like the ending. I did like how they took a lot of parts from that Daniel Farron's script to the original Halloween 6 thing, where like man, I'm not even going to get into it, but like, you know, how the town wanted to kill Michael, and then he turns into this like, you know, unbeatable monster that rises to like 12 feet tall, which is kind of like the variation that they went with. I watched it a second time at home on Peacock, and I thought to myself, okay, I like this more, and maybe in the grand scheme of watching it as a trilogy with 2018 kills and ends, it'll feel more like a full movie, because right now it just feels like this middle piece of like, okay, everything just happened. It's like an episode. It's like this middle episode, and you're just like, all right, I don't know, like this is crazy. Like it's just from beginning to end nonstop. But
I'm anticipating the next one for sure.
But
overall though, I was so excited for this film, and I think I really wanted to feel it, and certain of it, like I did like, I know you didn't like the beginning, the intro as much. I did. But overall I was jonesing for this movie, and it kind of scratched that itch. There was 2 movies I was looking forward to this year. This one and The Many Saints of Newark. And The Many Saints of Newark sucked.
Oh man, I haven't seen it.
Oh man, yeah, that wasn't.
This was like, this is good.
that wasn't very good, yeah, for sure. But yeah, so I like the ending too. I like the ending of Halloween Kills. I feel like it, like them, like Laurie talking to Hawkins, and they're kind of just, you know, talking about like, you know, how he's not a real, like he's not a man. The more he kills, he transcends. Maybe Karen's really dead. I don't know. Maybe it's not. I feel like she closed her eye. Like it seemed almost like a dream sequence, to be honest with you, which I hope it is, because I like Judy Greer.
I think she's dead. So that scene in particular, they went back and reshot that. So the original scene that got filmed for the ending of Halloween Kills was that after the mob is kicking the shit out of Michael, and then she stabs him in the spine, and it's supposed to be, okay, well, now he's dead. She walks back to the Myers house, just like she does in the theatrical version. She walks up to Michael's room, just like she does in the theatrical version. However, she calls Laurie and says, hey, he's gone. He's dead. He's finally gone. And out of the shadows in the background, just like in the original Halloween, Michael appears out of the shadows and comes in,
chokes her,
and fucking, you know, he stabs her to death, and she drops the phone, but Laurie can hear everything that's happening. And so she's screaming, right? And then after Karen's dead, Michael picks up the phone just like he did in the original Halloween and puts it to his ear, and he's breathing, and Laurie knows that it's Michael, and she's screaming, I'm coming for you. I'm coming for you.
Why did they not do that?
So
why did they not do that?
So from what I heard is that they had just finished writing the script for Halloween Ends at the point that they were filming that, and they apparently the ending that we got in theaters connects better with what they wrote for Halloween Ends. So that's why we didn't get it. But you know, this movie is like I said on my podcast, it's polarizing in the same way that Rob Zombie's Halloween is. People have not shut the fuck up about this movie for days on days on days. And the way that I look at it is, I remember going to see Star Wars The Phantom Menace and watching it and being like, okay, well, I'm a massive Star Wars fan, but I didn't love this. And I kept going back to the theaters and rewatching it like I missed something, like it was my fault.
You didn't miss anything.
No, I didn't. And that's how Halloween Kills is for me. Like, I feel like so many people are enjoying it that I feel like, am I missing what this is supposed to be? It just reminds me of The Phantom Menace, man. You know, I enjoy it enough. It's a fun slasher film. It's just not a good Halloween movie.
Yeah. So give me your number 6 real quick then, Jeremy.
My number 6 is Halloween 3. great Halloween themed movie. Doesn't necessarily doesn't really fit into to
Yeah.
this franchise at all. And like you, I remember being a kid and somebody had told me like, don't watch Halloween 3. Michael's not in it. So I remember vividly being at the video store and boom, they've got the box, and they've got the tape for Halloween 3. So
Great
I would
box.
great box,
Yeah.
great box, amazing artwork. I would pick it up, man, and I remember doing this so many times. I would flip it over and I would read what it was. I would read what it was about, and just my child brain was blown away. Like, well, how do you make a Halloween movie without Michael Myers? And I'm like, okay, well, I'm just like not going to rent this. Fuck that. And I would put it back. But the amount of times I picked it up and read it, and then I never rented it. And I didn't watch this movie until I was in probably my late teens. I finally was like, all right, I'm gonna watch Halloween 3. I had ordered a like Japanese bootleg box set of the Halloween franchise, and it was like a region free thing. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna finally watch Halloween 3. And I did, and holy shit, it's a fun, brutal fucking movie, man. And you've got Tom Atkins, you've got the mustache himself. Like, what else could you ask for? He was fantastic in the movie. The kills were fantastic. Dick Warlock was fucking menacing. It was disgusting. What a fun movie.
Very fun movie. Like, I couldn't believe it. And it's funny, like, in time, just things just, they hit at the right time. And it's like, it's this weird, strange, forgotten movie in the middle of this franchise. But like, when you really take your time to watch it, you're like, this is a really good movie. It's just a great plot. So awesome.
Yeah, it's having a huge resurgence too, man. Like, it just keeps getting more and more popular. Now they're coming out with action figures and dolls, and like right now in fucking like Shoney's restaurants or some shit like that, there is like plushies in these like fucking the crane arm grab games or whatever. Like,
oh yeah.
It's fucking weird, man. Like, this movie is now being merchandised because it's becoming so popular. So good for Tommy Lee Wallace. A little late, but his movie's finally getting some shine.
Yeah, for sure. Langan, so anything to add to Halloween Kills, your number 6?
No.
Okay. So my number 6 is H2O. Saw this in the theaters. I gotta say, I didn't really like it in the theaters. I didn't really like it. I love LL Cool J, but once again, I feel like there was something about these horror movies that were just trying to throw in like any random rapper and give them the worst dialogue. Granted, way better dialogue than the Busta Rhymes shit, the movie after, because he was likable. I just wish they gave them like a real role, something that was just like, okay, cool, like be a normal character, not just some like, oh yeah, like just so cliche, terrible. I really ignored this movie, and like later on, like I gotta say, within the last 10 years, the more I watch it, the more I like it. I really think the first half of this movie is really effective. The very beginning of this movie is very effective. Joseph Gordon-Levitt, right? That's because the original nurse, same thing, like with the one that was in Kills. So basically, so it's like the same thing over and over again. Great beginning, great suspense, great tension. I just didn't like the last half of the movie. Or the last, maybe the last part of it. I like the first 2/3. Very definitive with the head shop. If they didn't make Resurrection, it would have been great. I just feel like a movie like this being attached to Resurrection also hurts it. But if you go back and you watch this movie, it's creepy. It's very atmospheric. It feels like a fucking Halloween movie. Some really good kills. I gotta say, the things that bothered me the most, the mask. I think this is a terrible mask, and the trailer always had that doorway scene with the glass and Jamie Lee and Michael are staring at each other. And the other thing that kills me is that arm pull up thing that he drops down from. I'm just and the fact that he's I don't know, at least 5 inches smaller than he normally is.
Yeah.
So, but hey, that being said, it's a very good movie. Didn't make my top 5, but Halloween H2O, which brings us to number 5. Yeah. So the top 5, man. Let's do it.
Hell yeah. Number 5 for me is Halloween 6. I remember renting this movie as soon as it came out, and I was so amped for it. And it delivered for me. When I was however old I was super young. I loved the shit out of it. It was it is a brutal movie. You know, some of these kills, like the dad Strode in this movie is like a fucking abusive piece of shit. And dude, his death scene went on for fucking ever, so long that literally they cut to a shot of the outside of the house, and like you see the electrical bolts happening, and then it goes back to him being fucked up more. You know,
Yeah.
I love the brutality of this movie. I can forgive some of the silly Cult of Thorn shit. Like I'm not a fan of that, but ultimately we got a very brutal, scary Michael Myers. I dug Paul Rudd's Tommy Doyle. A lot of people have issue with his version of Tommy Doyle. I dug it, and it's just a fun movie, man. I dig it. That's why it's in my top 5.
Fuck yeah. Langan, give me your number 5.
Halloween 2018.
Okay.
Been mentioned already. I thought it was a admirable resurrection of the series. I was sold on. Me and you loved this movie when it came out. I remember saying, I think we discussed it on the show. But my biggest beef with it is that it's just called Halloween too, like, because it is a sequel to Halloween.
Yeah, so right.
Why not Halloween Returns, something like that? Instead, we have to all refer to it as Halloween 2018.
Yeah.
Because it ain't the same. It's on a remake, you know. It's a sequel, sort of.
Yeah, it's strange. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
that's
we're getting that with Scream too. I mean, they're making Scream 5 is coming out, and it's 5
simply
called Scream.
It's
5 Cream.
5 Cream. Yeah,
it's just Scream for this one. It's weird how studios are making those decisions.
I think it's just like trying to capture like the next generation of.
But kids. If it's a remake, I get it. But if it's not, then it's another film.
Oh, for sure.
You know, it's crazy. But that's
my
number 5.
Yeah, same thing with me. I have 2018. So interesting when Danny McBride was attached to it for sure. And I just remember going to the theaters, and I gotta say, for some reason, some people didn't really like the cold open of this. I liked it. I really liked it. I like I love the podcasters. I love when he's holding the masks, and then it's just like the shot, the dog barking, and then it kicks right into the intro. The only thing that was weird was the CGI pumpkin. I'm like, I don't know what this is all about. Then the bathroom scene with the teeth, really good. What else was good? I didn't like the kid, the little black kid, super funny. I don't like I said, I'm not really too into that humor thing. Like, I don't get that part of it, because it kind of like, it really takes you out of that scene, because she's trying to close the door and Michael's in there, which they showed in the trailer, which is fucking stupid. I love the scene where he's like following that fat kid Oscar, and like the lights are blinking and he keeps popping up, you know. But the movie lost me exactly where Jeremy said. Once they turned the doctor, I was just like, what the fuck? I'm like, oh, so he just took Michael out and then stabbed I'm just like, that's weird. Like, why would they do this? Like, it didn't even make sense.
Can we actually talk about the fact that Hawkins gets stabbed in the neck several times and literally run over like a sack of potatoes? And when Halloween Kills comes around, motherfucker just has a Band-Aid on his neck. His face isn't fucked up. Like, you got run over like savagely. Like, your whole body rolled, and all you have is a Band-Aid on your neck, like where you got fucking stabbed. I'm like, okay.
And he could talk. I mean, he got like Oz shanked in the neck, like straight up, like his shit is like hanging out. I'm like, there's no way this guy, I forgot he got ran over, you know? But I didn't really get, like, I just didn't get like that part of like the doctor thing, you know? Like, I just, someone mentioned to me that it should have been like, Laurie was drinking and somehow was following the bus, and she like got a DWI crash, you know, she's the reason he escaped, you know, like that would have been a cooler angle than like,
there you go,
you know, something like that. So, but still, I love it. I think it's really good. I liked it more than Kills. It felt like a Halloween movie. It felt like The Force Awakens. Like, when I watched Halloween 2018, I'm like, you know what? I'm like, this is kind of like every other movie, but it feels like a Halloween movie, and I'll take it. So, Force Awakens was just like a New Hope all over again. But I'm like, you know what? I'm glad to be back in this universe.
Yeah.
I like it a lot. So
Perfect analogy too, man.
So number 4, Jeremy.
Number 4 is Halloween 4, the return of Michael Myers, and it certainly was a return of Michael Myers. Halloween was back, baby. We got Michael Myers back. We got Dr. Loomis back, despite the fact that the fucking hospital blew up. But here we are. Halloween 4, because more like the return of prophets, because they were like, "Yo, that Halloween 3 thing that wasn't happening." So
was it? Yeah.
Let's let them know. No, this is the return of Michael Myers. It says so on the poster.
Yeah, right. They went out of their way.
Yeah, he's in this movie. It's a great movie. Like, obviously, I met Jamie Lee the first time in 2012 when she did her one-off horror convention. She did Horror Hound Weekend, and I got to ask her a question in the Q&A, and I said, obviously they came to you for sequels throughout the years before you did H2O. Was there ever a point where you had even considered returning for another sequel in Halloween? And she flat out told me, she said no. She said, it was at the point in my career where I knew if I made another horror film, like, I was typecasted and that was it. She said, of course they did come to me for the sequels, and it was just pass. Like, no, thank you. So obviously, they couldn't bring Jamie Lee back for this one. They got Donald Pleasance back, which is rad as fuck. And we got a really weird looking mask though, man. Like a fucking like permed, like that motherfucker was permed and blew out. What is that? That's another strange thing. It's like, okay, like, you obviously, like, you have a decent budget. Like, you're making a fucking Halloween movie. You got enough money to bring Donald Pleasance into this, but you can't, like, come up with a better mask than that. The mask has always been really perplexing for me for this franchise. Like, how hard is it
right
to get this mask right, So yeah, I really enjoy this movie. It feels not only like a Halloween movie, but it feels like the season Halloween in the film. I felt like they did a good job of making it feel like it was Halloween time of year for this. So it's a fun movie, and I it's really interesting. Tarantino has gone on record as saying that he was like, Halloween 4 is way better than it should be. Like, Halloween 4 is a good horror film. So I always have a blast sitting down and watching this one.
For sure. Definitely. Langan, what's your number 4?
My number 4 is the same thing. Halloween 4. I remember as a kid being so excited that Michael was back, and I'll just to piggyback on what Jeremy said, the of it feeling like a Halloween movie. The intro to this Halloween is probably my favorite of all time. It's the most like fall, autumn of the season intro. For something about it really gets me in the mood for this season. But yeah, and I have the same gripes with the mask and certain aspects of the film. Again, a lot of a kid being the main part of it, but
she killed it. She killed it though.
Yeah, no, she did. It was better than 5. Her, but yeah, a lot of the same reasons Jeremy said. But yeah, that's my number 4.
Cool. So my number 4 will be Halloween 6. Huge apologist. The director had a lot to work with, but actually Daniel Farrens wrote it. So he had to make sense of 4 and 5 and the Man in Black and all this other shit. And I thought with the shit that he was left with, he really tied together something pretty cool. The producer's cut is something worth watching for its absurdity, but I like the theatrical a lot more. I like Paul Rudd. I think he was great in it. He's a great actor, like the shit that he just did in there was great. The mom from Better Off Dead, the dad who just smacked the shit out of his daughter. This was probably the last movie that felt like a real Halloween movie from the first batch. Just everything about it felt like it was dark. it's actually a pretty creepy movie, pretty scary. You know, you put it on at night. It's just Michael Myers is definitely Michael Myers in this one. And they did the best they could with what they had. And you know, this is the, I mean, Donald Pleasance was like, fuck it, man. He attached himself to this franchise. He's like, I'm going to do it till I die. And he did. He fucking died after the end of this movie, and they had to redo it, but they couldn't redo it. And it's great. You know, it's if you want a Halloween movie, if you want a really good slasher, it didn't land everything it was trying to do, but goddamn, it to me, this is a Halloween movie for sure. So
fuck yeah.
Let's do our top three, man. Give me your number three, Jeremy.
Halloween 2. Rick Rosenthal and John Carpenter's Halloween 2. It picks up obviously directly at the moment where the original ends, and it's just you could tell though that they kind of didn't know what to do with it, because you can't do the same exact thing again, because you know Carpenter gave us a slow burn horror film, you know, very Hitchcock in a lot of ways, and it's perfection. So you know, money talks. They got him back to write it, and he was like, all right, like let me throw this thing together. So what he did was he kind of followed some trends that were happening in the early 80s with horror films like the Friday the 13th, and this became more of like a body count film, you know, straight up slasher film. You still did have some of those moments, and there was still slow burn elements in this, because it's not like we got Laurie and Michael action off the bat. Like that was something that built over the course of the movie, which I think is why this movie stands apart from other slashers, is because it's still, the pacing of it was still great for the lead character with the villain, and it's just a really satisfying movie. The kills are brutal. It's just it's really well made. I'm reading a book. It's about John Carpenter's career, and he did a bunch of interviews for the book. It's called Prince of Darkness, and it was really interesting to hear John Carpenter talk about this movie, because he said that he had to do something to Rick Rosenthal that he wouldn't have ever wished to happen on him, which was essentially he told Rosenthal, "Hey man, I trust you. Here's the script, but go make your movie." Rosenthal handed in a cut, and Carpenter was like, "Oh no, it's like it doesn't work. It doesn't work." So Carpenter and the studio gave their notes and said, "Go back and re-edit it." And they even gave him like a top-notch editor, and he handed in the second version of the film, and Carpenter was like, somehow it was worse.
Wow.
So Carpenter had to essentially be like, move, and literally went out, and Carpenter went and filmed some more of this movie, and you know, he filmed some more death scenes, and he filmed some more like exposition stuff, and Carpenter and team were the ones that edited this movie. And I tell you what, from the sound of it, I don't think there's any love there between them, even like still to this day, about that. Yeah. So
I had no idea. That's crazy. Exclusive here. I mean, for us.
Yeah, man. So Halloween 2, man, it is a great Halloween film, and it's the last time we see because you know that is the original mask, even though it looks different, because it fits on Dick Warlock's head differently than it did on Nick Castle, so it looks like it's a different mask, but it's the same. So it was the last time we got a really great looking Michael Myers for quite some time.
On it, right?
Yeah, dude. All the
Hill, I think.
Yep. Deborah Hill smoking cigarettes, and it was kept in a shoebox under her bed.
Yeah.
Awesome. Langan, your number 3.
Halloween 3. And this is my ranking as a 48-year-old man. If you asked me when I was a child, this would definitely been at the bottom of however many came out at that point. Because it was a lot less than 12, obviously. But I love this movie. It's completely savage. Obviously doesn't have Michael Myers. That's the drawback everyone has to it. But I love the evil corporation story. I love it's got that Invasion of the Body Snatchers feel, where like all these people are watching you, those guys in the suits, those just the imagery of it, it's very sinister, and the masks are so iconic. I mean, I love, even in the recent Halloween Kills, those 3 kids, they all had the masks, like it still makes appearances, and they're so cool, the masks. Great design. But this is a complete opposite ranking of where it would be the time in my life. But as of right now, an old man, Halloween 3, number 3.
As an old bearded man.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay.
Yeah. Cool. So I see where we're all going here, and I'm gonna do my number 3 because I'm pretty sure from there we could all figure out where we're going. So my number 3 is Halloween 4. Watched it again last night for like the 100th time. This is fantastic. This feels the most like a Halloween movie aside from the first two, in my opinion. The Mask is fucking terrible. When I first saw The Mask, like, you know, like that scene where Jamie's in the bedroom and the lightning strikes, and it's so fucking white. It's just so fucking white. I'm like, where did he fucking just get this thing from? It's like a sheet of paper, you know. It's unbelievable. But everything about it, you know, these movies are great because of the isolation. Like, in places where you feel like there should be more people, there's less people. Like, you see a police force that has like 8 guys, if even. You end up in this house at the end. The house stuff is great because they were still using the mask thing where it pops up. You know, so like you see his mask when you know they're talking. You know, Meeker's like, you know, telling the deputy to watch it, and he leaves, and it's still great, super creepy. The one thing I will say, the most ridiculous part of the movie is when they're fucking driving out of town, and it's like Jamie, what's the blonde girl's name? I forgot her
Rachel.
name. Rachel, yeah. And they're like driving with like the, you know, like the town fucking like gunman, and they drive through this like mist, and all of a sudden Michael Myers pops on the fucking truck. I'm just like, what is that? Like, it didn't even make sense, but to me, I'm like, yeah, whatever. You know what? I'll excuse it because we're at the end. So, but the intro, the best intro. Everything we said, it's just like when you want a Halloween October movie, the intro is great. And when the nurse or like that paramedic, like when they're taking Michael's body out of that, you know, Smith, she's just like, okay, let's go. And then the music kicks in, like when he's on the gurney, fuck, man. And then the thumb to the fucking head.
I love that.
Man, that's that top-notch slasher shit right here. So Halloween 4 for me. So that's it. Last 2, man. I know where you're at, so I'm sure we all have the same number 1, but give me your number 2.
Yeah, Halloween H2O. Like I said earlier, it was the first one that I saw in theaters, and I feel like even though this was like right during the Scream mania, right? This is right after Scream came out, so I mean, they went so far as to hire Kevin Williamson, who wrote Scream, to do some script polishing to make it more Scream-like. You know, it definitely had a lot of the Scream aesthetics as far as the kids and how they talked and interacted on the school campus. However, I feel like tonally, out of the entire franchise, even though Halloween 2 directly connects to Halloween, I feel like Halloween H2O just did the best out of all the sequels as far as feeling and having that same vibe and tone as John Carpenter's Halloween. Halloween H2O is a slow burn, you know, horror film, and it takes time. Of course, Michael does what Michael does, and we get that sporadically throughout the script, but it builds and it builds. It
does build. Yeah. Janet Leigh's in the movie too. That's another yeah. Very cool stuff.
So yeah, just for me, it feels the closest to John Carpenter's Halloween, and I love it. I never get tired of watching it. It is my favorite sequel to watch. So Halloween H2O, man.
The Mask doesn't bother you?
Dude, you mean the masks?
Because there's 3 of them, right?
Dude, I think there's 4 of them.
Okay, yeah.
And I don't even think that's including or maybe that is including the CGI
I remember the story, right? What was it like? Weren't they saying like it just wasn't working, so they had to like go get another one, right?
Yeah. So Steve Miner, he
Steve
had
Miner.
Stan Winston come up with a mask, and I'm pretty sure it was the Stan Winston one. And that was the one, like, it just looked so wonky, man, to where it was just like, it looked really thick, like the mask, like it was a lot of latex and it was thick and it had this huge eye cut holes in the mask. And It was really fucking white. And so he started filming with that. And the studio was like, oh no, like this looks like shit. So they were like, all right, well, people didn't complain so much about Halloween 6. So they brought in John Carl Buechler and they made another mask off of his mold from Halloween 6. And that's the mask that he's wearing in some of the shots where he was killing Nurse Marion from the original Halloween. It was in her house. A couple shots you could see he's wearing the H6 mask. But they they change it, man. And then they brought in K&B, and K&B did a different mask. And then in the kitchen, they fucking did this the CGI mask. Man, there's so many fucking masks going on. It just got to the point where I'm like, okay, I'm more focused on the story than I am on the mask. So like, I will be an apologist for the fucked up masks in that movie. But they're not good. Out of all of them, I would take Buechler's Halloween 6 mask over all of those other masks.
What about his foot?
His foot, man. You heard about that, dude.
I
need to send you the.
You said.
Did I send it to you?
Yeah. I asked for it.
Yeah. Oh man, his fucking foot, dude. I was at Langan. I was at a convention, and fucking John Carl Buechler, God rest his soul, is sitting at a fucking a table, and he's signing autographs and shit like that. So I bring up a Halloween poster, and I'm like, "Hey, Mr. Buechler," and I'm like talking to him, and then like I noticed that he's not wearing shoes or socks, and his fucking feet are gnarly, dude. Like they're like all like going in like different directions. It's kind of like the Spice Girls, man. They're all like different colors and different shapes and going in different directions. Like
posh toe, sporty
toe. Sporty toe. Like, dude, so I on the sneak, my buddy was talking to him, and I pulled my cell phone out and I took a picture of his foot. Because I had to. I was like, dude, I got to show people how fucking terrifying. His foot looks like a fucking ghoulie ate it. It's so bad, dude. So bad. So yeah.
Shout out to him and rest in peace, of course.
R.I.P. man. If anybody wants to see John Carl Buechler's foot, I got you all day long.
I might make that the picture for the episode.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Langan, number 2.
My number 2 is what I'm sure your number 2 is, Sam. Halloween 2.
Absolutely.
One of the best direct sequels ever. It's so nice too with horror movies. There's in some of these franchises, there's so little continuity to actually have a film that picks up right where the last one leaves off. There's a lot to be said for that. Of all the Halloween movies, my favorite poster. I love the pumpkin.
Yeah.
On the Halloween 2 poster. But you know, what can I say? Ups to kills. It's one of the best sequels of all time. I love it.
Yeah, for me, it doesn't get any better in this genre or subgenre or whatever than the 1-2 punch that these movies bring, for sure. So my number 2, Halloween 1981. That's a fucking pumpkin intro. And the razor blade in the mouth was just so peripheral, but it's like so effective to a kid. I'm like, what the fuck? Why does this kid have a razor blade in his mouth? Leo Rossi, I mean, come on, Amazing Grace, come sit on my face. Lance Guest. You know, this movie was directed by Rick Rosenthal, but it felt like it was just it felt like the same movie. Yeah. Like it still felt like the same fucking vibe. It's a hospital once again where there should be 1,000 people, but there's like 3. You know what I mean? Like it's just like you're like, holy shit! You're like, if anything happens here, we're fucked.
It's the most understaffed hospital
ever. For sure. Yeah.
Well, also, this movie needs its shine too, because as this whole franchise went on, it's like the forgotten thing in like the universes and stuff.
Oh yeah, everyone
has these new one pickups.
Yeah, they're like, fuck 2. We're just gonna go off.
I'm like, what the hell?
No respect for that shit.
No respect.
But yeah, I fucking love it, man. It's there was a time where I would watch it more than I would watch 1. Me because too. it had that same feeling. It just had the same feeling. God, I don't know. I love it so. But anyway, we all have number 1 for Halloween, the original, right? So,
of course, yeah.
Of course.
But let's talk about it, Jeremy.
Yeah, I mean, this movie is soul food for me. I mean, I listen to the score for this film way, like probably an embarrassing amount. Like if people could hear the music that I was playing in my car as I was driving, they'd be like, that is a fucking crazy person. Because a lot of times, dude, I cruise to, different film scores, and Halloween a lot of times is the one that I go for. I know every line of dialogue in this movie. I've been to like pretty much all the filming locations. I've traveled the country over the past 12 years, meeting the cast and crew. I mean, this movie just means so much to me. I can
Who
put it
was
on.
the coolest? Who was like, aside from Jamie Lee, who else have you met that was really cool?
Man, PJ, she gets it, man. She understands the fandom behind this movie. She understands what it's like and what it means to be a fan as well. So she is just so down to earth and so cool. And the cool thing about her as well is that she is a fan of John Carpenter's Halloween. Like, sometimes people when they work on on a project, I think they get so close to it.
Yep, I know where you're going, but go ahead.
Yeah, but she gets it, and I think that she really herself loves the movie as well. So she's a fan of it, and so meeting her fans, she's just so fucking cool, man. And
they use her voice.
I met her at MonsterCon. She was really. I had her sign my Rock and Roll High School though.
Oh hell yeah, that's right.
But they use her voice as the teacher in 2018, which I thought was fucking great.
Yeah. I had her sign my Halloween 2018 poster because I was like, hey, your voice is in there. Sign this poster. But yeah, man, she's cool, and I mean, this movie I could turn it on any day of the week and just not think about anything else, and just I'm in Haddonfield and I'm with these people and I'm along for this journey. And a lot of times it's like music, man. You can't listen to the same album over and over again because eventually you go, I don't want to fucking hear that anymore. I've heard it. That's not the case for me in Halloween. I can watch it 1,000 times and still go, God damn, I love this movie.
Lots of quotes. I mean, one of my favorite shirts that I have is the station wagon, and it just says, "Hey jerk, speed kills."
Fuck yeah.
Because it's like, it doesn't mean anything to anyone, but like if you're like, yeah, like that's fucking awesome, like it's just such a random quote. But Langan, anything you want to add?
No, I mean, that was perfectly said. I mean, just that it's talking about the score. It's probably the greatest score in
the greatest
history.
It's great
in the running for all films, but definitely for horror. It's
synonymous. Like it's up there with Jaws, fucking Star Wars. Like you hear, like everybody knows.
It's so signature, and it's such a basic little riff that he put together, and it became this thing. It's just unbelievable. But yeah, just like Jeremy said, I mean, I can watch it anytime. It never grows tiresome to me. It's a mood, and it just represents also too, like the power of independent cinema, because this was a low budget film.
300,000 maybe, right?
And look what it did. It's amazing. What a good movie can do.
And you could see in the new season of Netflix, The Movies That Made Us. It's the first episode. Have you watched that yet, Jeremy?
I have, and I gotta be honest, man. I fucking hate that show.
Yes.
I hate that show, and the reason why is it's so fucking corny, right? It's like the tone of these episodes, man. They're like
the edits are too comical.
Oh my god,
it's
like
sticky.
It's like this is a perfect example, and I think this is actually a direct quote. It's like in 1978, John Carpenter set out to make his first, his film Halloween, which was a bloody movie, and it's like, Halloween didn't have any blood in it. Scratch that. Halloween didn't have any blood in it. It's like, dude, what the fuck is happening? Like, why are you being so goofy and over the top with this thing? I can't fucking do it, man. I tried watching it because I like Jurassic, I love Jurassic Park and I love Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
And both of those episodes I literally turned off. I was like, I can't fucking do this slapstick bullshit.
There is some sticky delivery in it, but I mean, you seem like a total expert on this film, I'm sure, Jeremy, but like there was some stuff that I didn't know. I didn't know that the like a lot of the budget was because Carpenter had to have these certain cameras.
Panaglide, yep.
Yeah. It was
yeah. See, I didn't know that.
It was like a third of the budget.
Right, and it could only shoot a certain amount of time, and that's where they did the shot with the mask, so they could have a cut scene, like little things like that. I didn't know them before, so yes, if they delivered it like a little less like zany,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it was like
Also,
it was like a VH1 like talking head show.
But I
Oh
did
my
learn
God.
a couple of things, and I thought I knew everything.
I'm out there snorting lines of this show up.
Yeah.
I tell you what, guys, if you want a really great documentary on Halloween, like the most definitive, like for the first film, the most definitive documentary that's out there. I love it. I purchased it on Amazon years ago. I don't think it's even in print anymore, but A&E did a inside story
I got
for
it.
Halloween. Do you have it, dude? I feel like that's it. Like if any information you want to know about this film, it's in this documentary. It's fucking fantastic.
A&E crushed it.
Yeah,
Nice.
dude,
Yeah,
amazing.
Cool. Yeah, listen, this was fun. We always like to do October centric episodes, man, and I feel like it's a long time coming. Like I admire all the shit you do, man.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
You know,
best of luck, man, with that new film.
Yeah, I know you got Vicky Vale music coming out. I know you got fucking Fredheads. So
busy, man.
Yeah,
busy.
do. Much respect to you. Thank you for taking time to talk to us. And that's it, man. Anytime you want to come back, man, and hang out, we'd love to have you.
Dude, yeah, you send me the invite. I'll be there, man.
Awesome.
Awesome.
All right, guys.
Later.
Thanks.
Peace.